Hello everybody and welcome to the Ban Rants channel, your home for NFL projections, predictions, and of course your periodic rant. And in this video I'm going to be going over my Week 12 picks and seeing how I did in terms of what actually went down. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Week 13 as well as going over a few things that we need to know about the 2/3 part of the way through the season. I'm going to analyze all the teams in a separate video, so please make sure to check that out as well. But we'll go into my picks. I'm going to talk about Week 13 a little bit. But before I do, please make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, leave a comment down below, and we'll go ahead and get started here. So, looking at the spread, I missed a couple of games in the NFC. I missed the Bears winning and the Eagles losing. Very much surprised by the latter. But I was able to get the 49ers and Washington winning. That was definitely a tricky choice between these two, and they didn't disappoint. Same thing with Tampa and the Colts, although I did pick Indy at home. Kudos to Tampa for winning on the road. Now, I actually almost ran the table here, but the biggest surprises came in the AFC. Denver winning at home was a big surprise. The Bengals getting the season sweep, getting the brooms out for the Pittsburgh Steelers, that was a surprise. And especially in such dominating fashion. I mean, the Bengals hung up 40 on them. I didn't expect that at all. The Jets winning, again, Sophie's choice. But New England and Baltimore, I definitely had those two winning because New England is just a more polished football team right now than Tennessee. And the Ravens have statistically played better on Sunday Night Football. I believe they're 3-0 with Lamar Jackson as the starter on Sunday Night Football at home. So, looking at Week 13, we can go into some of these games here. This is also, by the way, the last week that teams are going to have a bye. So after Week 13, we're going to see every team playing every single week. So we'll start with the interconference. The Dolphins and Giants. Daniel Jones may not play, and the Dolphins have been on a little hot streak lately, and they're making it interesting in the second half of the season. They've actually had a perfect November. I believe they've won every single game in November, and I think they're going to start off December on the right foot without Daniel Jones. Eagles and Jets. The Jets don't really have much to play for at this point at 3-8, except for maybe spoiler. Philadelphia also could potentially keep it interesting in the wild card round if they were to run the table at this point, because they do have tiebreakers over both Atlanta and New Orleans in the schedule breakdown, and they haven't faced Washington yet, which could potentially lead to a late season surge of tiebreakers, but obviously we're not going to jump too far ahead here. But I am going to give Philadelphia the win. I think they're going to bounce back. They definitely need it. Washington and the Raiders, that's going to be a very tough game to call. I'm going to come back to this one, as a matter of fact. Rams, I think, will win over Jacksonville fairly easily, snap a 3-game losing streak, and get back on track and solidify their spot, at least for now, at the 8th seed. AFC, I think Indianapolis beats Houston. I think they bounce back. I think the Texans could be a little bit more motivated after losing at home to the Jets in what could have been an easy win. But right now, the Colts have a lot more to play for than Houston does. Chargers and Bengals. This one's actually going to be probably the game of the day, in my opinion. This is actually the Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow NFL dream match we should have saw last year in Week 1 in Cincinnati. However, Justin Herbert had not been the starter yet. It was Tyrod Taylor, and of course the Bengals were able to get the win. Now, I don't see any reason why the Bengals won't win this one. I know the Chargers have been actually a better road team, but right now the Bengals are just getting hot at the right time. They were able to win in dominating fashion over the Steelers, and you could argue that they could come back to earth. If you look at the last time they were able to beat the Steelers, they did a pretty good job and then ended up coming at home to Cincinnati and winning against Jacksonville. But obviously the Chargers are much better than Jacksonville. And if you look at the Chargers breakdown, they've only had They've only had one 2-game losing streak. They haven't had one since Week 8. They've been able to at least sort of win-lose. But the Chargers right now are actually in a pretty good spot to still stay interesting in the AFC West race. If they're able to win this game, and the Chiefs don't beat Denver, which that, is a bit difficult but not impossible, then the Chargers could actually take first place in the AFC West. Obviously, the Raiders would also be in the mix for that, but I am going to give the nod to Cincinnati. Ravens and Steelers. Now, obvious pick for me would be Baltimore just because of how Lamar Jackson has been performing and how the defense is now starting to shape up at the right time. They had a really bad start, but the last couple weeks they've played pretty good, including doing a really good job against Cleveland with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in the lineup. They did an excellent job against them. I expect them to do an excellent job against the Steelers offense. The problem is Lamar Jackson in Pittsburgh has had 2 disastrous showings, and the first one was even without Ben Roethlisberger there. So I don't think Baltimore is going to win this one. I know it sounds crazy, but I actually think the Steelers might be able to take this one in an upset. And that could potentially change. Same thing with the Chargers, but I have the Steelers actually pulling off the upset here. Broncos and KC. Chiefs are off of the bye. It's Sunday Night Football. It's in Arrowhead with the lights on bright on Sunday night, and I think the Chiefs are going to probably take that one. Denver, I think, could potentially pull an upset off. If it was in Denver, I'd give it to them, but it's not. Pats and Bills. I actually think New England's going to win this one too, and they would take first place in the AFC altogether if they were to do that. But the Patriots are undefeated on the road, and the Bills have not looked the same. So expect a lot to really be laid on the table on Monday night. That's going to be a really good game, probably the best Monday night game we've seen in quite a while here in 2021. So now we can go over to the NFC and kind of go through the easy games real quick. I expect Arizona and Tampa to win on the road fairly easily, especially Arizona coming off the bye. Dallas and New Orleans. New Orleans was not able to win at home against the Bills, and I think Dallas's offense would actually do a better job against the Saints defense. And the Saints offense has been very, lackluster without Drew Brees, without Alvin Kamara, and Michael Thomas. Obviously, losing those kinds of playmakers would not do anybody any favors. But it hasn't done New Orleans any favors, especially right now in this late stretch of the season. Minnesota and Detroit. I know Detroit has to win eventually, but it's not going to be today. Minnesota needs a bounce-back win after last week, and doing that, by the way, would put them in the 7th seed, at least for now. San Francisco, Seattle. I think this one's going to come down to the wire, and Seattle has all the ways and means to pull off an upset here, and I think they're actually going to. Don't be surprised if San Francisco does find a way to win this one, but they don't have Deebo Samuel. They don't have Fred Warner, at least for this week. And Seattle has a lot of teams that are kind of looking down on them, especially at their 3-8 mark right now. They're poised to finish last place in the NFC West for the first time since Pete Carroll took over the team, for the first time since Russell Wilson's been the quarterback. So a lot of unfamiliar territory for Seattle, but they could potentially win this one. Now, Washington and the Raiders. A lot is definitely going to come down to this. If Washington wins, they'll be the 6th seed. They'll actually be ahead of San Francisco because of conference record. But if they don't win against the Raiders, they would be 5-7 and hanging out in the 9 seed. I'm actually going to go ahead. Looking at Washington's road record, it's actually been subpar, whereas the Raiders at home have actually been pretty good. I'm going to keep the Raiders at winning this one, but don't be surprised if Washington pulls it out. And also, as far as the NFC goes, I do expect another home team to pull off an upset win. I just can't say which one right now. But that's all I have for you guys right now in Week 13. Hopefully you guys like what you saw, and I'll see you in the next one.